Hello, everyone. In today's episode, I'm joined with Jack, and Jack has ulcerative colitis, and today we're going to be hearing about his journey with his story with ulcerative colitis, his book as well, which is really interesting because that came out September last year. So it's going to be nice hearing a little bit about the book and what's in the book as well. So thank you, Jack, for coming on today.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It's good to be here.
Yeah, because I know with your page you spread a lot of awareness with your new book.
Yeah, just sort of talking a little bit about having a stoma bag and what led to me being there, and I've got a permanent stoma bag now. So it was sort of my friends and girlfriend was sort of like trying to encourage me to get it out there a bit more, and ended up posting a lot of stuff on Instagram and eventually writing the book.
Yeah, and has lots of people bought the book as well, would you say?
I'd say it's quite a niche book, being about ulcerative colitis, about having a stoma bag. But I've sold a couple of hundred copies, and all the people that have read it have given me really nice reviews. Had sort of lots of 5-star reviews, and the really nice ones are people who have Crohn's or colitis or stoma bag for some other reason, getting in touch and saying, "Oh, I'm so happy I read this book. It was like almost like reading about myself," or "I wish I'd read this before I had the stoma," and stuff like that has been really nice.
Yeah. I suppose it would help a lot of people with IBD because they like you may have ulcerative colitis or have Crohn's. So I can imagine it can be really helpful, and like with the book as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes I don't know what it was like for you when you got diagnosed, but I was just sent away with some meds and not really much of an understanding of what colitis or IBD was. And then you end up doing sort of Dr. Google, and there's lots of scary stuff online, and it can be a bit unpleasant. Whereas this is sort of more of a writing a story about it is more of a human introduction to what life is like, and there's obviously a lot of negatives to IBD, but there's the ups of still living your life as full as you can.
Yeah. Like I completely agree, and it was pretty similar. I didn't really have an understanding. I got given a little booklet. It tells you a little bit about what IBD is and Crohn's and colitis. And I'm classed with as a person that has like a little bit of both, like a little bit of colitis and Crohn's. And that's I think goes on as called patchy pan. So that comes down as one of the worst forms of Crohn's. So it does get complicated when you go into those bits because there's different types of like Crohn's and colitis and stuff. But I was the same where I went home, went on Google to find out what Crohn's was. It wasn't very nice to read. Like surgeries, like stoma bags, pain. But yeah, you kind of have to understand it yourself because you don't really get like at the start you don't really get told by anyone really what it is.
No, yeah, I remember even when I first had the stoma bag, I wasn't really warned about the fact that the stoma can prolapse. And one of the first times I played sport, was playing tennis after the op, my about 6 inches of the small intestine came out, and I freaked out. I thought I was like gonna die, and I spoke to the stoma team, and they were like, "Oh no, that can happen while the site is still healing up, so don't worry too much." And a guy got in touch with me from sort of reading some of my stuff about from sort of shit happens that I've put online, and he said, I didn't know that that kind of thing could even happen, and he's had his bag for a couple of months now, and it's kind of, I would have enjoyed or at least appreciated reading some of maybe the stories that I've written, if someone else had written them, but when I was at those early stages of being diagnosed and then having the bag.
Yeah, yeah. It does take time to, I suppose, speak about what's going on to people as well, because I was diagnosed in 2017. And I was 16.
Yeah,
I was 16. And I was in year 11 at school at that time, so I was missing quite a lot. At exam time, it was like preparing for
yeah,
it. So a lot of people weren't very happy. Well, they understood the teachers. It's more the students that, because I was in a drama course, and they weren't very happy because I did a role with three characters, so I'm multi-role character. So um, I wasn't gone long, but I did when I because at first the pain I got was a burning feeling, like my stomach, and before that signs were of like losing weight quite a lot,
yeah.
because I wasn't eating, and I was put on the liquid drinks, which I didn't really like. So
Were they the Fortisip ones?
yeah, yeah, like I didn't like them. I tried them, but I didn't like any of those drinks. Um, but supposed to be good for you, but I I couldn't eat really anything, and then I kind of lost the pee. Um, it was quite fast. I had to push as well because I wasn't going to get seen. Um, because they were prepared to wait another month, and I wasn't prepared to wait another month to be in the pain I was in. So you kind of have to push yourself and stuff to, so you can get these appointments.
Yeah, no, that's half the battle is actually getting
That's it.
seeing the right people and getting sat in front of the right doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, like even if I don't like something, I will say something, because from I was due the first biologic I was on was um infliximab, but
Yeah, I also had that.
and I was on that a year, and it didn't work on the 10th infusion or ninth. It might have been the ninth. Yeah, it was the ninth 'cause I didn't get to the 10th. Um, yeah, it didn't
I didn't
work.
get to the third.
Yeah, but yeah, I chose to go on that because I was advised to go on Humira first, but I wanted to go on infliximab because I was newly diagnosed, and I didn't want to. I kind of wanted to be at hospital at that time, and it's a good job I chose that, because now the pandemic's on, I don't really want to go to hospital, so I'm happy doing because I'm on Humira now. Um,
Yeah.
I'm happy doing that at home, not going
Is
into
that the one that you
hospital.
is that the one that you self-inject?
Yeah, yeah. It's like for me, it's every 2 weeks, every fortnight. You just inject yourself, and then like less than 5 seconds it takes, but you gotta put it in the fridge um overnight, and then take it out, and stuff. But it's I find it much easier than going into hospital, like waiting like a few hours. Um, and that makes you very tired. I remember going on infliximab, it did make you very tired. Uh, and yeah, the reaction I had wasn't friendly, but these things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like I've never had the stoma. I've never uh had surgery, but I believe I will one day because I was diagnosed quite young, so I believe I will when I'm older or at
Yeah.
some point. But I don't want it.
Yeah. So you were diagnosed 1 year before me. I was diagnosed in 2018,
Okay.
but a little bit older. I was 22 when I was diagnosed, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 23 when I ended up having the stoma for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I know when I was diagnosed, I didn't I didn't actually create like a page like on it, social media till 2020. So it was a
Yeah.
few years
Oh,
after.
the same year for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the pandemic brought that on a little bit, creating one. Um as well, because you wasn't doing as much like as I would, like doing normal things that you would want to do. So I created it in 2020. Um Created a podcast in 2020 as well, shortly afterwards. Um and then yeah, I find it much easier, like with seeing lots of people with their stories on Instagram.
Yeah, you've had quite a lot of people on now, haven't you?
Yeah, I've had uh, this is like the fifth series at the moment, and yeah, I've had quite quite. I suppose it keeps me occupied and people that coming on, because like it's something to do, like especially if you can't go out and as much as you would, to see people like your friends and that because the medication I take at the moment are I take acetylfibrin. I've been on that ever since I was diagnosed. Um, I did take steroids to start with, but
How did you find those? I had
yeah,
some pretty nasty
yeah,
experiences with them.
yeah. I just got puffy, like puffy face and everything. Um, but I wasn't awfully bad, but I didn't like being on them. I just wanted to get off them as soon as possible. How was you
They,
on them?
yeah, they kept me up. I probably slept an average of about 2 hours a night while I was on them, and yeah, like obviously puffy face as well. And one of the really weird side effects was you end up having the water retention,
Yeah.
and it gave me the steroids basically made me retain water on my back, and no matter how I sat on a chair or in bed, I just couldn't get comfortable.
Mm.
And so, when that was at its worst when I was in hospital, I was on the intravenous steroids, and people would come and visit, and I'd sort of be sitting sideways on the chair talking to them, because if I sat straight back, it was like really quite uncomfortable where all the water was sort of trapped on my back, and I had it everywhere. I looked
Okay.
completely unrecognizable. I bumped into the mum of an old friend of mine who I hadn't seen for a few years, and I
Yeah.
said hello to her and asked how her son was doing, because I hadn't chatted to him for a couple of years, and she looked at me as if like, "Who are you?" And she'd known me my whole childhood, but they just completely changed my appearance.
Yeah, they're not nice. They're not nice going on steroids, and for me, I kind of want to get off ibuprofen because that dampers my immune system quite a lot, especially being on. I take like being on Humira as well because that's by like what cancer patients can take as well, like these
Yeah,
sort of things, and like with a pandemic on, you don't. It's not a very ideal being on these sort of
not at
medications.
all.
Yeah, and talk, and I don't know. I don't. I'd rather talk to people in the community rather than friends that they understand, but they don't have it themselves. So I just rather speak to. They know of my crimes quite a lot, of course, but I just prefer to speak to people that know what they're talking about. But
Yeah, because I think if you're talking to someone who um hasn't heard of it or hasn't had a close experience of it, you end up spending more of your time explaining the condition than actually maybe discussing it. It'll it'll end up being more like a biology lesson than a conversation.
yeah, I remember once I did a PowerPoint at college or school when I was at school. I did it about Crohn's, and I got questions. I was happy to do it. It was something I wanted to do, and when I did the PowerPoint, the teacher thought I didn't do it because it looked all professional. I said, "Yeah, I did it. I did it in ICT lesson." Um, and it was quite funny once because I did at the college. It was I think IBD day or something like that, and luckily the cook wasn't not in, and I went in the cooking room, baked cakes like for Crohn's and colitis, made them purple, and I sold them. So
Oh, nice.
um, I, I I did that because I did ask the cook when he was in, he didn't want to do it, so I said okay, and then we
Do it myself.
got a few teachers in to help me, and then we made some. We sold them around uh, the college. Made I had a pot. I had to put there, like put the money in. And yeah, I did do a few things to raise awareness around. I knew I was the only one that had it in my school and college, so I thought, why not? And I put ribbons around the college at this college I was at because it was fairly small. It wasn't a big college, so I did that. And although none of them probably knew have a clue what I was talking about, but I just talked about it anyway.
Yeah, I actually was just I'm a teacher in a secondary school now,
Mm.
and next week I've been asked to give an assembly about having colitis and having the stoma bag, which is I've done it once before. I did it at the end of last year when we were first sort of allowed to have assemblies and stuff after COVID, and I was trying to keep it, not too graphic about the surgeries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one of my students uh, found it all a bit too much and had to be taken out of the room because he was feeling a bit queasy at the thought of having a surgery on your intestines. But most of the kids, I think we're pretty understanding and quite interested in it. And there was, I had some of the younger ones that were asking some, quite insightful questions. I had one came up to me and he said, "So, if you don't have a large intestine, how do you absorb water?" And he was like thinking about his, what he'd learnt in biology, and then and it was really curious to ask me that. So it's something that I kind of haven't been trying to hide at work
Yeah.
because I've been off ill for extended periods over the last sort of 4 years. So you can either be secretive about it and everyone is curious, or you can just be honest about it and then it's not as big a deal.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean because, like, um, it's it's hard to speak about, like, I suppose in front of people that you'll see every day. So, uh, if they take it in and if they don't, like, I suppose it's understandable, but it's always it's nice. It's a nice thing to do, like especially if you're asked to do it, like from like a teacher to do it in front of like like the school or a few classes. But
Yeah,
I
no,
yeah
just one of the school's values that we're trying to get the kids to try and be is resilience, or be resilient, and so they thought that dealing with having all the different surgeries and stuff fit that quite well. Um, so trying to sort of talk about it, but link it to something real for them, which is being resilient to hard times.
What area so what do you like normally teach at school then to the kids?
So science,
Oh,
science,
science.
which fits quite well. So when I'm teaching
Yeah,
the digestive system,
yeah.
I can say, all right, so here's the human digestive system. Which part do you reckon you could survive without? And then,
Yeah, you could
and,
have a whole lesson about IBD, couldn't you?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Come
yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
And sort of the writing that I've ended up doing has been when I was ill mostly. Since I've got better after I've had 3 surgeries for the stoma now,
Mm,
but since I've got better, I haven't written quite as much because I'm busy working. But when I was really ill and I was awake hours on end on the steroids, sitting in hospital, there wasn't much else to do. You end up completing Netflix pretty quick,
yeah.
and that was when I ended up writing the book and getting it published last September.
Have you brought the book into school to show?
Um, I haven't brought the book itself mainly because its title is "Shit
Yeah,
Happens."
yeah, oh yeah.
Around the world in 80 dumps a day is the subtitle as well, and so and also I feel like I shouldn't be plugging my book to my students,
No, no.
um, but I talked to them about the fact that when I was in hospital I wrote because it helped with my mental health, it helped with my just sort of staying sane while I was having all manner of drugs pumped into me.
Mm.
But I don't specifically try and plug it to them. I did have the parent of one boy I teach end up buying the book because he must have found it online somewhere. But that's
Oh,
about as far as I've gone.
yeah. Well, yeah. At least you have a. Well, it's nice that like a person like you teach bought it then. Like the
Yeah.
book. Like I've never done a book, but I have been in a booklet, like a little comic I got of myself that
Oh,
it's called Unstoppables. And I at the time I was like there's an adult version of it and a children's. And I was in the children's because at the time I was a child, class as a
yeah.
child. When I was diagnosed, and at the time I was in school, so in it it has a little bit about like me, about a little bit about my diagnosis. As a little,
And who was? Did you do that, or were you involved in it and someone else was doing it?
Oh, I was involved. I'm not the only one in the book. I have my own a few pages for of me. Um, like I put a picture in there when I was really ill. Because yeah, I put a picture when I was really ill. I have a word search. I think I have a crossword as well.
Huh?
With certain names that are relevant to Crohn's and IBD.
Yeah.
Um, like yeah, it's quite good. I brought it
And it's called
into
the Unstoppables.
yeah, it's cool. Like it's because I've got it. It's on like it's on a website as well, as well as like the actual itself. It's comic. Like I did bring it in a bunch, to school and
Oh, cool.
college as well. And like I believe it's in my Instagram like link tree thing where you can I think it's and then you click on it and then it's there where
Oh, I'll
like
try and find it later.
yeah, because I did do like a blog as well for Crohn's and Colitis UK.
Yeah.
Because you know where you can go on the site and then you write a little section and then you post it and like you wait. I think you're waiting for someone from Crohn's and Colitis UK to get in touch and then someone did and then we spoke over the phone for an hour or so and I was telling my story and then made a little um, blog out of it, which was pretty cool. Um,
Nice.
I think that came out November time last year, which
Yeah,
um
I think I saw it at the time.
yeah, yeah, it was pretty good because I put in there about my journey so far, who I admire, like like the different like celebrities and stuff who have it as well and speak out, and that helps probably people who are not like us, like tell our stories as well. Um,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's pretty fun to do and just um like just help anyone you can, I suppose. That's a
Oh, very cool.
yeah,
Oh, I've
that's
never heard of that Unstoppables thing. I'll definitely check that out.
yeah, yeah. Like it was I remember taking it. I took it in. I showed. I even got people wanted to keep one for themselves. I think they went at the time. They were around the hospital as well, like the waiting area where you can pick one up and have a look, or
Yeah.
I'll do one. But yeah, like it's at the time it's pretty fun to get involved with it was and I actually remember Jack once after I came out of hospital once I was diagnosed and I went to school again because I got a taxi like with my escort to school and stuff and I said to her, do I look any different? That's the first thing I said or my
Yeah.
mum said and she said no where have you been um and then so I've been hospital because at the time I probably didn't notice what I looked like. I was told like not very good, like I lost all that weight, had to put it on and as well, which was I was looking forward to eating because I couldn't eat for ages. But I remember after having the colonoscopy, I would have like toast because couldn't
Yeah.
eat. Uh, and I was empty anyway, really, because I wasn't eating.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's funny you say that. People would be like, "Oh yeah, you don't look good." 'Cause I remember whenever I was always sort of go back to work probably a bit too soon after surgeries, and then I'd get really sick of people saying to me, "You look tired," and I'd be like, "I am tired." You don't need to tell me. And if I look bad enough that you can notice as soon as you look at me that you look rough, I probably know that I feel tired.
yeah,
But that's part. I think it's like fatigue is pretty hard when you've got the chronic pain. Um, you can feel really fatigued for like weeks or months on end, and that's something that having the one of the reasons I've had the surgeries is to try and get beyond that. Which
yeah,
at the moment, fingers crossed, things seem pretty good after the third surgery.
yeah, yeah. When did you last have your surgery?
About 3 months ago.
Okay.
So that was I'd had in 2019. I had the first surgery to remove my large intestine. Um, and the stoma might have been temporary at the time, but then in 2020 I had my rectum removed and the stoma was made permanent. And but then the stoma wasn't really working properly. It retracted, and I was having a lot of pain pretty much every day from start of 2021 all the way through the summer. And so then in October they refashioned the stoma. It wasn't working as it should, and so they pulled it out and restitched it. And at the moment, again, fingers crossed, not that it's done much for me crossing them before, but it is working.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully you'll be all right. And like, do you like as well as having a stoma? Did you take any medication as well, or was it just a stoma?
No, so since I've had everything that was diseased removed, so after the first surgery, I was still having steroids because my rectum was inflamed. But then in the second surgery, they removed that too. So now there's nothing really to treat because they've cut out everything that was causing me bother.
Yeah, yeah,
That's sort of one benefit of the surgeries is no meds anymore. Whereas there was a time where I was taking so many meds every day. And I know sort of some of my friends. I had a colleague I used to work with who had a colitis as well, and some friends I've met through hospital and stuff like that. And they still take a lot of medication every day, but and they don't have the stoma, so it's sort of
yeah,
um, swings and roundabouts.
yeah, yeah. Because I also take vitamin D and B12. Because I get a lot of fatigue as well. Um, I just go out for an hour or so. Um, or just for a walk, I'll get tired. So it's not ideal. Like I can tell the difference between before Crohn's now. Like much
Oh yeah,
difference.
yeah. It's a bit depressing if you do the before and after too often.
Yeah,
Have
yeah,
to try and avoid that because it's
yeah,
always if you're tired and late at night or whatever, then it does get a bit. You can start to sort of look at the past with sort of rose tinted glasses and think, oh, everything was great before I was diagnosed, or everything was great before I had the bag. Which it was definitely easier, but it's not. But it's better than being ill.
yeah,
Being on meds that are working for you is better than being ill, and having a stoma that works properly is better than being ill as well. So to
yeah,
try and compare it with that rather than with super fit and healthy person that doesn't exist anymore.
yeah, yeah. There's lots of adjustments that you have to do. Like once you get diagnosed and stoma as well. Um, can be. Well, I would think it would be like as because Crohn's I suppose it gets you time to talk about it, and like maybe that's the same with like a stoma as well, because it's like maybe another thing on top as well. But if it reduces the pain and you don't have to take medication, that is a plus side of having one, I suppose. Because,
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, like, do you have a name for yours? Because I know some people that have names for their stomas, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never actually got round to that. I think um, uh, can I swear on your podcast, or is that not allowed? I don't.
Well, yeah, well, your book is called "Shit Happens."
Oh, okay, yeah, no. So I think that probably the main thing that I've probably called it is this fucking thing,
Yeah,
and that's when I'm saying I wish I didn't have this fucking thing,
yeah,
but I haven't given it a an official name.
yeah, yeah. But but yeah, I suppose it comes to that because
But that's only in the sort of the bad moments. In most of the good
yeah,
moments,
yeah,
it it works well. But there is a bit of a love-hate relationship there.
yeah. I think it's that way, like with stoma, with when anything's going bad with a chronic illness. Because
Mm.
like if I'm in a flare or painful one, oh, I'm not happy. Oh well, I think it's the end of the world gonna come because
Yeah,
you just feel down and out and like, when's this gonna end? But when you're doing alright, you feel a bit better, and I feel like I try as much as that will last, like for a certain amount of time, or might be a long amount of time, just try and, I suppose, do the things you want to do, because
mm,
you never know when that will that will be halted due to like something to do with your ulcerative colitis or Crohn's.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's Crohn's, ulcerative colitis. I it hasn't been helped by the pandemic.
No, I definitely know some people who've had their appointments delayed and finding it really hard to get treatment. I'm almost glad that I was diagnosed before this all started, because I think if you were just starting to get symptoms now, it'd probably be a really hard time to get in front of a consultant and then and get a diagnosis.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree, because I wouldn't want to be diagnosed during COVID times, and it will be hard as well, because it'll be probably really packed from like people having COVID or stuff like that. So um, and sometimes you do have to push to get seen as well. Like I
Yeah,
remember
you were saying.
I did, and
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I
yeah,
was really ill when I was booked in for my first colonoscopy
mm,
back in 2018, and even though I was really ill and I was losing weight really quickly, they gave me an appointment months away, and I just had to keep calling up and calling up and calling up and seeing if there were any cancellations. And eventually there was a cancellation and I got seen like the next day. Um, but if I, you know, if you don't push, like you say, then it's pretty hard um to actually get seen.
yeah, because I before I was actually diagnosed, uh, um, that I was really sore on my back passage, and um, it was turned out to be a fistula,
Mm,
but the doctor didn't want to look. And although she's not probably a doctor that would, maybe a consultant would, but at the time, that's the reason we came, just for her to have a look. She had to just look up there, I suppose, and she didn't want to do that. And she said that she didn't want me to be uncomfortable, but I'd rather be uncomfortable. I'd rather be uncomfortable with me finding out what's wrong. And she didn't do it in the end, and I think it got worse, not knowing what it was, like a few weeks later, and then went to see my consultant, and then he had a look, and it was a fistula, which at times it has been really bad. And like, especially if you do quite a lot of exercise, it gets irritated. But yeah, that is like another thing. Um, like, just you get people that, even doctors and people that won't